You can make your own pumpkin pie from the pumpkins that you use to decorate for Halloween or the fall with. First, you are going to cut it in half, or first you'll take out the stem, and then you'll cut it in half, and you'll take a spoon and just scrape out the seeds and the goop that's on the inside. Now, if you like pumpkin seeds, you can wash the seeds and save them and then bake them later, which I'm going to do. You'll put it on a baking tray face down like this after you scraped it out. Okay, you're going to want to spray your baking sheet. I used avocado oil here. You don't want it to stick. And you're going to put them cut side down on the tray. That will hold some of the steam in and cook the pumpkin better for you. Here I'm working on the second of the 3 pumpkins that I'm going to cook. Take the stem out with a knife. Then I take a spoon, take the rest of the seeds out, place them face down on a greased baking sheet. Then I'm also gathering the seeds, which I'm going to wash and bake later. I set my oven temperature, I believe it was like 350, and it's going to cook for 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, here's where I am washing the seeds, getting the goop out of them because I don't want to bake that with my seeds. I'll wash them and rinse them in cold water. And then I'll spread them out on a greased baking sheet and put some salt on them. And I put them in the oven with the pumpkin and just let them cook until they're brown. You want to spread them out evenly in one layer. If there's little bits of pumpkin on there, you want to pull that out. It'll just burn. Now, if you don't like pumpkin seeds, you don't need to do this step at all. You can just throw them away. I just happen to like them at least once a year. Okay, my oven timer has gone off. I'm going to check the pumpkin and see if they are done. You know they're done when you stick a fork in them and they're tender. They're going to be really hot, so be very careful. Yep, they look like they're done. The seeds have a light brown color to them, so I'd say they're done as well. See how I'm turning them over and look at all that steam coming out. They're very hot. So wait till they cool a bit before you try to scrape the pumpkin meat or flesh out of them, or you will burn yourself. So I try to do it with a glove, but it's just too hard to handle. So just take my advice and wait till they're cool. I'm putting it in a food processor because I want to puree it. You can also use a blender or hand mash it. I went ahead and sprayed my pie pan, and now I am getting ready to make the filling for the pie crust. It takes 2 eggs plus 1 egg white. I'm going to show you how to separate an egg. Wasn't super successful, but the idea is to flip the egg yolk and the white or the yolk back and forth between the top and the bottom, and then the whites go in the bowl. And this recipe calls for 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk. So I'll set the yolk aside, and I can save the whites to use later on. I'm going to add the yolk and the eggs to the mixer. This recipe calls for 2 cups of pumpkin, so I'm measuring out the 2 cups of the fresh pureed pumpkin that we made. And there's 1 cup. It also calls for salt and cinnamon, allspice, and various other seasonings. I can put the recipe in the comments or in the bio. And this is evaporated milk I'm adding now. Be careful to add that slowly or it'll splash out. And with evaporated milk, there's always like some thickened stuff at the bottom. You scrape that out and add that to your mix as well. This is going to be kind of a liquidy mixture. It's not thick like you would think pumpkin pie is, but it's pretty liquidy, and you'll be pouring it into the pie crust. When it bakes, it thickens up. There's my pan. I'm just using a Pillsbury refrigerated pie crust for this. You can make your own, which for my deep dish pie pan, a bigger crust would work a little bit better actually. But you just take the pie crust and push it down into the pan. There's not a lot of room with this deep dish pan for a big crust, which is okay, but then you want to just flute the edges a little bit and make it pretty. I'm kind of just doing that using my finger to pinch and just add a little ruffled edge. Once you put the pie filling into the pie crust, though, it's pretty thick and it almost covers up the entire crust in this deep dish pan. A bigger crust would give you a more of an edge of a crust. So in order for it not to soak up all the liquid mixture for the pie filling, they say that you should pre-bake it a little bit. So you put a little piece of parchment paper in there and put something in the pie crust to weight it down. I have some pie weights. You can use beans, you can use rice. I'm going to use this pie weight chain that I have. Here's the parchment paper. I have these pull-out sheets, just fold it up so that it fits inside the pie crust. And then there's the pie weights, which I hadn't opened yet, so take a second to open those up. And then just lay them down in the middle. They may not be quite heavy enough for this pie crust, but we'll try them. So you're going to just put that on either your pie pan on a baking sheet and put it in the oven 8 minutes or so. And here I've already filled the pie crust with the filling. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of crust around the edges, which is okay. You're going to bake it on the baking sheet. In case it does bubble over, it doesn't get the bottom of your oven all burnt up with pumpkin. It baked for about an hour, hour and 5 minutes, and when I poked a fork in the center, it came out clean. And there we have our pumpkin pie. Enjoy!